Singapore's founding leaders knew the strict conditions that national service would impose on the citizens when they passed the National Service Amendment Bill, and this was 51 years ago, and the Enlistment Act in 1970. In 1984, just as he was about to retire, a reflective Dr. Goh Keng Swee acknowledged it, plain and simple. Quote, "National service imposes a great sacrifice of time and money on the young men called up," unquote. But Dr. Goh followed with the reason why this sacrifice was called for and why NS was crucial to our nation's survival. I continue, quote, Dr. Goh's words, "Deep in his heart, the average Singapore citizen knows the danger he faces are real and not hypothetical, and that there is a need to defend ourselves," unquote. The Appellate High Court also brought their minds to bear on our NS policy, just as recently as 2017, last year. This was during an appeal on the sentencing of NS defaulters. Their written judgment spelled out the reasons why more stringent sentencing benchmarks were justified. But those same reasons lie at the heart of what various members of Parliament have asked today. Dr. Lim Wee Kiat, Mr. Darrell David, Mr. Sito Ipin, Ms. Joan Pereira, Mr. Muhammad Faisal Abdul Manap, Dr. Intan Azura Mokhtar. In various forms, they ask these questions. How strict is this requirement for every male to serve his national service when required? What exceptions or flexibility can be given? It was a landmark decision presided over by the Chief Justice. The Appellate High Court referred to Deputy Prime Minister Teo's ministerial statement given in 2006 to this House when he was Defence Minister. That ministerial statement, coupled with the written judgment of the Appellate High Court, illuminate the fundamentals on which our NS policy are based, that we must not unwittingly weaken lest we undo this nation's foundations. I urge all members to read them. It's crucial. The judges opined that, quote, "In practical terms, what the three fundamental principles of national security, universality, and equity mean is that in order to ensure Singapore's national survival, every male Singaporean must serve national service and at the time he is required to under the Enlistment Act without regard to his personal convenience and considerations." Without regard to his personal convenience and considerations. It continues, "When a person refuses to serve national service at the time that he is required to, and instead returns to serve at the time of his own choosing, or worse, at an age where he can no longer serve, his actions strike at the very core of the principles of national security, universality, and equity." 13 NS defaulters were prosecuted after this new sentencing framework was established last year. In court, in every case, each of them gave reasons why he did not enlist as required. Some wanted to complete their university degree first, before NS. Others said they had to support their families. But in every case, in every judgment, the courts dismissed these personal reasons, convicted and sentenced them to jail, because harsh as it is, the Enlistment Act is blind to quote-unquote personal convenience and considerations. No matter how talented the individual, no matter how exceptional the circumstance, that is the core of the Enlistment Act. The critical need for a strong defense puts aside personal pursuits and mandates that each liable male performs his national service when required. This is what the law our founding leaders and subsequent leaders passed in this House. We may have forgotten it or diluted it, but the Enlistment Act stands. The written judgment noted that everyone was asked to do his fair share. Quote, "This entails every citizen who is required to serve national service making sacrifices or postponing individual goals to serve the nation when the nation needs his service." Unquote. The sum of it, these arguments spell out in unequivocal terms the NS obligations for every Singaporean male. So deferment cannot be for the individual, no matter how talented, to pursue his own interest or career. In other words, because I'm so exceptional in talent, I deserve to be deferred. This is not the Enlistment Act. No matter how talented, and even if it vicariously brings credit or fame to Singapore, because that will be fundamentally wrong and goes against the core principle of equity. The Enlistment Act is blind to talent, personal considerations, personal circumstances. Some Singaporeans have voiced the same opinions over Mr. Davis' application. I assume that members filed these questions as a result of that. Mr. Suresh Nair, who wrote to our feedback unit, said this, quote, "Let this Davis case be the right and timely reminder of the need for absolute fairness in applying laws regarding NS deferment." Unquote. He's understood this. Therefore, to preserve equity for all national servicemen, MINDEF will only defer individuals very selectively if their deferment serves Singapore's interests first and foremost, never their own. That's the only basis. This was the only basis to defer 3 sportsmen, swimmer Joseph Schooling, Kwar Cheng Wen, sailor Maximilian So, from national service so that they could train and compete in the Olympics. And the sportsmen who were deferred knew this because clear expectations were laid out when deferment was given. We discussed it with MCCY on the standards required for their training. Neither was deferment open-ended or unconditional. They will have to return to serve national service, and if they do not meet the standards agreed upon, deferment will be curtailed. These strict conditions are necessary because even for these individuals who can bring glory to Singapore, there are detractors who think it's unfair for anyone to be deferred. Mr. T. Ng wrote to MINDEF, quote, "Please be fair to all Singaporean males who spend years serving national service. Every Singaporean male's career is important from his own point of view." Unquote. Disruption for individuals after they are enlisted for national service follows the same principles and also given only for national reasons. We disrupt medical students to complete their medical studies because we need them to serve as medical officers during their national service to take care of their fellow soldiers. It's not a personal career choice. We need them. It is not an entitlement, and once the reasons are no longer valid, the disruption will end. No discussions. For example, we previously allowed overseas medical students to disrupt, but this was stopped in 1992 when we could produce enough doctors locally. You can appeal, but we'll just say no, because we have enough. Similarly, dental students were not disrupted after 1989, as there was no need for NS dental officers. And for transparency, MINDEF publishes a full list of all medical students who are disrupted every year.